Hey, everybody, this is Dr. Levi. Welcome to your show, The Dr. Levi Show. Today is July 5th, 2017. Spectacular day here in Los Angeles. So I hope wherever you are, you're making it a great day. Hope your 4th of July holiday was awesome. Hope you experienced little fireworks, enjoyed some family barbecuing, picnicking, and all the other good stuff. And hopefully you actually exercise. Because don't forget, it's so easy during the holidays to gain a lot of weight and to drink in excess and do a lot of other stuff in excess. So the holidays, again, the key word for life, I think, is moderation. So you can eat what you want, drink what you want, but moderation. Because we are what we eat, drink, and smoke. So be aware of what you do to your body. You only get one of these, so honor it. So 4th of July is really a great holiday because it really gives us an opportunity to reflect on the greatness of this country and, more importantly, all the freedoms that we experience here in America. It's a phenomenal country. I'm grateful that I'm here. I'm grateful that you're where you are right now and that you have an opportunity to make every day a good day for yourself. Because remember, if you wake up, that's the start of a good day. If you don't wake up, well, that's a little bit different. So I want to tell you, I think the holidays really gives us an opportunity to really go to that place of gratitude and be grateful to be in this wonderful country, no matter what's happening politically. You know, I just had an incredible conversation recently with some friends about the 45th president, about the politics, about healthcare. You know, some of those things can be so negative and so repetitive that if you keep talking about it and talking about it, it makes things seem more severe than they really are. So my mother, we were talking the other day, and I was telling her the same thing. She was asking me about the president, asking me about some other political things. And I have to remind her that no matter what's going on politically, just keep a positive attitude and know that things will get better. Don't stay in the negative. You know, the negative, I think of it as like a vacuum, a black abyss, that if you keep thinking about it and talking about it, it just pulls you right in. So I want to remind you, when you go out with your friends and your family, when you're at dinner, maybe talk about everything except politics, except religion. You know, just talk about the things that you have, like your health, that you have a great job, that you have a home, that you have a roof, that your family's there, you know, that you have kids that are living, that are in good health. There's so much to be grateful for. So I think when we focus on the positive, we attract more positive. That's the basic law of attraction. When you focus on the negative, when you talk about the negative, when you just go on and on and on about the negative, well, it just shows up in a lot. You know, so be aware of that. Now, the other thing I want to say about the 4th of July that I love is that it really gives us a chance, at least for me and my family, to see people that you haven't seen for a long time. And I always find it very intriguing for myself when I'm around aunts or uncles that I haven't seen for a long period of time, to look how they're changing, you know, that they're walking a little bit slower, that I just like looking at what I call the evolution of life. And maybe they're looking at me thinking, oh, wow, Levi's looking pretty gray, or wow, he's shaving his head always now. I'm sure they're thinking these same things. But I always think with family, there are always these unsaid rules about how people are changing, how they're walking slower, how they don't remember as much. Family is a very intricate, dynamic experience. And I love living, of course, and I hope you do too. Now, I want to talk to you about some medical issues. I had a few emails about diabetes again. And I've addressed this before, but I want to give you greater clarity about it. So the question again was, why is it so important to regulate your blood sugars if you're diabetic? Well, I want to go over this one more time. We've talked about it, I think, at least a dozen times on the show, but I want to go over it again. So over 26 plus million people in America have diabetes. So if you think about it, in this country, there are, 360 million people? So if 26 plus million have diabetes, that's a substantial portion of the population. Now, why is diabetes important? Why are we talking about it again? Because it's one of the number one health reasons that causes amputations, eye disease, kidney disease, neuropathy. What is neuropathy? The inability to feel your hands or your feet, as well as blindness. So, you know, you have to be aware of what you're eating. You have to be aware of what you're doing to your body, because you only get one. That's it. You get one body. So why not be healthy? Why not be fit? It's just one of those things that I want to remind you to do. Now, if you have diabetes or if you have a diagnosis of prediabetes, you want to do the following. You want to exercise. You want to eat properly. You want to minimize any sugar in your diet, of course. And why is this important? Because if your sugars are uncontrolled, you can go into a state of what's called diabetic ketoacidosis, which is super high blood sugar. It can be 3, 4, 5. I've seen as high as 700 actually in someone. So these are things that will cause you to feel shaky, to feel nervous. You can actually go into a coma. So you have to be aware that diabetes is a major health issue. I think the only other major health issue that I can think of that's of greater significance now in America as well as globally would be obesity. Think about it. Over a third of all Americans are obese or overweight. A third of all children in America. Actually, I think adults is close to 40%. I think. And I think in African American culture, I think it's 35 or 40% also. So, we really have to be aware that if you're not eating properly, if you're obese, if you're overweight, then you have to do things to mitigate that. And exercise is the key. I've always said that's like 85% diet and 15% exercise. But exercise really is important. It's important that you exercise daily. You don't have to do a lot, but you have to do something. You have to honor your body. If only 15 to 25 minutes a day. For myself, I exercise 2 to 3 hours every day. I don't miss it. My body, I think I have to do what I can to honor it, to keep it strong, to be available for my patients. And also, if I'm talking what I call the gospel of fitness, then I have to look like it. You have to look like what you're talking about, because then life is experiential. So it's like if you have somebody who's tremendously overweight and unfit, and they're talking about health and fitness, then the thought, of course, is, well, how can you talk about something that you're not experiencing? How can you talk about something that you're not living? How can you talk about something that's not a part of your daily lifestyle? And that's what fitness is. Fitness is a lifestyle. You have to do it not because you feel incumbent upon to do it, and if you don't do it, you're going to feel bad. No, we don't want you to feel bad. I don't want you to feel judged. I don't want you to feel bad about anything. What I do want you to do is to value your body. I want you to exercise. I want you to eat properly. I want you to make healthy choices about what you eat. Because again, I'll say it again, you are what you eat, drink, and smoke. How could you be anything else? Our bodies are composed of everything we put into it. So be aware of everything you put in your mouth. If you're eating something and you know it's not good for you, don't do it. If you go home with a box of cookies, don't eat 20 of them. You go home with a cake, maybe eat a half a slice. Don't eat the whole cake. Don't eat the whole pie. And think about this. If you don't bring it home, if it's not in the house, then you won't eat it. I always think about that. So if I get up at 11 o'clock at night, I'm actually up most of the time at 11 o'clock. Let's say if I get up at 3 in the morning, if I'm hungry, well, I'm not going to eat. I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to get ready to go to the gym so I can be there by 4:15, but I'm not going to eat. So, you have to think about it. When you want something, you have to think about these two things. If you see something, think about this. You may want it, but do you need it? My office manager now, she's so fantastic, Jessica. She always says now that when it comes to eating, she's always thinking that before she eats something, she's thinking, how long will it take me to work this off? So maybe I'm not going to eat this. This will take maybe 3 or 4 hours in the gym to take this off, maybe 20 miles of running over the next week or so. So these are things you really have to think about so that your body can reflect the healthiness that you want it to have. And again, you only get one body. So I want you to be healthy. I want you to be fit. I want you to be prosperous. I want you to be successful. What I want above all, I want you to be the best possible version of yourself. Independent of what your wife, your husband, your lover, your spouse, your partner may think, you only take you wherever you go. So I want you to take a you that's healthy, that's happy, that feels awesome, and happy to participate in life. You only get one that we know of right now, so enjoy it to the fullest. All right, so with that said, I want to tell you about our guests today. The two really interesting gentlemen that I wanted to have on the show, because when we're talking about 4th of July and we're talking about the celebration here of this country, I think it's always fitting to talk about veterans. I think veterans men and women who serve this country in the armed services, they are without a doubt, and I've said it over and over, and I'll say it until I have no further breath in my body. Those women and men are the true heroes of this country. We have our sustained freedoms for what they give up. Think about it. The veterans give up their families. They give up relationships. Many of them sacrifice body parts. They sacrifice their minds, many of them, with PTSD and a horde of other mental type illnesses. They give so much, and then again, they come back, what I find, to a country that in many ways just simply abandons them. I can't say enough how much love I have for veterans because of what they do, of how they give unconditionally, how they serve us and help us to have everything that we have. And sometimes people don't even tell them, thank you for your service. I just don't get it. You know, I've told this story before, and I will share it with you one more time. One of the most moving things I've ever had in my entire life of 35 plus years is I was at Whole Foods here in the Valley, and a guy was standing there with the sign. He said he was a veteran and they needed help. And so I told him, I said, well, I'll go and I'll buy you some food and I'll talk to you when I come out. So he said, okay, that would be great. So I went in, and it was an odd day because I didn't have as much money as I usually carry with me, but I got what he wanted, and then I came out and I talked to him. And then I gave him some money. And then we talked. We talked for about 15, 20 minutes. And after talking, he said, you know what, can I just give you a hug, Dr. Levi? I said, of course, and I want to give you a hug. So I gave him a hug, and I held him, and he held me. So after about 3 or 4 seconds, I went to let go, but he wouldn't let me go. He held on to me, so I just held on to him. So for about a minute and a half, he was just holding on to me, and I just held him back. And then I noticed that my shoulder was wet, but I didn't do anything. So finally, I kind of let go, and he let go of me, and he was just crying and crying and crying. And my shoulder was drenched. And I said, well, what's the matter? I said, I gave the money I had. I said, I'm sorry, I don't have any more. He said, no. He said, I'm really grateful that you spoke to me and that you treated me like a human being. He said, I've been out here for about 8 hours, and only one other person actually spoke to me. He said a few people actually threw change at me and just walked in and treated me like I don't really exist. I said, well, I would never do that to you. I said, I respect you as a human being. I respect you as a man. I said, and I respect you really, and most importantly to me, as a veteran and someone that has served this country. And he said, you really believe that? I said, I absolutely do. So I held him, and he held me. And then before you know it, his shoulder was wet because I got really emotional. So I think it's so very, very important that we always see the humanity in other people, because as a physician, the doctor is no better than a dog walker. It's just it's just a job of service, So nobody's better than nobody else. And I think the veterans, they're definitely better than us. So I just have tremendous respect for veterans. And I don't know, I haven't thought about that story for a little while. So so I got to pull it together here. So, but I think the bottom line, I share that story because it was very powerful for me. It was a very it was a defining moment of really embracing the humanity in someone who felt forsaken, and someone who felt less than, who was actually someone who was more than. He's more than a conqueror. He's more than a hero. He's a veteran. I think of the veterans as the modern day Avengers. They're the modern day superheroes. And I think we really have to we really have to respect them. That's what I think. So I wanted to share that story with you. I apologize for getting emotional about it, but I'm a human being. I just do. And I love veterans. I love what they do, and I think we really have to show more gratitude and more grace toward them and more respect. That's what I think. They deserve more respect, and I think this country, in so many ways, has abandoned them. It's like, WTF? I mean, come on. Why is a veteran standing by a bridge? Why is a veteran outside of Whole Foods begging for food? Why? I just don't get that. That is a total damn disconnect for me. I don't freaking get it. I don't. So I won't bitch, moan, and groan and bemoan that. But I do think it's important that we continue to write out Congress people to let them know that veterans need to have more. They should be set with homes. I feel a veteran should have anything that he or she needs for the rest of their lives to live in comfort. That's what I believe. I believe that. So when it comes to giving money to the OSU or to any other veterans organization, Wounded Warriors, I stand for them. People ask me all the time, well, you're not a veteran. Well, I was in the Navy for 2 years. I was a midshipman, at University of Notre Dame in ROTC for 2 years. Well, did I do anything actively? Well, I was on a ship, USS Niagara Falls in Alameda. I did that for the summers. But however, even without becoming a full officer, I still have respect for those men and women who serve. I just do. And so that I have to say. Now, with that, I want to tell you about our awesome guests that we have on. So today we have two people on that I think will really be very inspiring for you and to me. And one is Elijah Finn, and the other is Officer David Gonzalez. So I want you to hear their stories as Elijah Finn begins his career in the Navy, and to hear Officer David Gonzalez talk about being this seasoned veteran who also serves right now in community awareness and involvement. So it's just going to be a great show. So thanks for being with us. So welcome, Finn, and welcome, Officer Gonzalez. Happy to have you with us.
Happy to be here.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. So tell us about yourself, Officer Gonzalez. Where are you from?
I'm from Whittier, California.
Fantastic. And your whole family's been here in the California area?
Yeah.
And you come from a big family?
A very big family, Mexican family, so it's a very big family.
Fantastic. How many brothers, how many sisters?
I have 2 sisters. My older brother was killed.
Oh, sorry to hear that. Well, what about your parents? What do your parents think about your service? Because you've done so much.
They're proud. They're both immigrants from Mexico.
Yes.
And I was in, I think it was 1981. I went to my dad and I told him, hey, I want to go to the military.
Yes.
And he says, he looked at me and he said, when are you leaving?
Did he really?
He told me just like that.
Like that. So no second thoughts.
No second
No
thoughts.
trying to hold your arm. No.
No, his youngest brother was in Vietnam.
Okay.
So the first thing he told me is, you're going to go talk to your uncle.
Right.
He can give you some advice. Because
Right.
he says, I can't. I never served. I said,
Yes.
okay. So that's what I did. And my uncle tells me, he goes, I'm not going to try to talk you out of it. I'm not going to tell you not to do it because
Right.
no one could talk me out of it. No
Right.
one could tell me not to do it.
Right.
So I did it.
Right.
And he basically told me, depending on how you score on your ASVAB test, he goes, you're going to be in a combat unit.
Right.
That's just what it is.
Right.
And yeah, that's what I was. I was a sapper.
Yes.
I was a 12 Bravo sapper in the Army. I served from 81 to 86.
5 years, quite a bit.
Well, I did some reserve time when I got out.
Oh, okay.
And then, but I seen that commercial, see Germany with a friend.
Yes.
I was shipped off to Germany.
Well, did you really?
I was shipped off to Germany
Wow.
for my first 18 months. Very cold.
I'm sure.
Very cold country.
Right.
Beautiful, though.
Yes.
Very beautiful. I was fortunate to have my brother be stationed there, and a cousin of mine, Alex Gonzalez, was stationed there.
Yes.
So we were all stationed there. I was the first one to leave. And there's a military exercise called Reforger.
Yes.
And what it is it's an exercise where the Russians are invading Europe, and we're U.S. military and the Allies are going to stop them. And I'm sitting in the valley in Wurzburg, and I hear these planes come in.
Yes.
Look up in the sky, and I just see these guys jumping out of planes.
Wow.
It just
Wow.
blew me away.
Yes.
We finished the exercise, went back to the base, and I went and asked, how can I go airborne?
Right.
Well, you got to do this, this, this. I had to do a physical fitness test,
Yes.
get interviewed by the colonel. Next thing I knew, 30 days later, I had orders to go to Fort Benning, Georgia.
Did you really?
Oh, and I was ecstatic.
That's
my brother and my cousin thought I was crazy. They
That's
said, what are you
fantastic.
doing? What are you doing?
That's fantastic.
And so in January of '84, I PCS to the States, and I went to jump school in
Yes.
in Fort Benning, Georgia, and that was the best thing I ever did.
It has been a phenomenal experience.
Just, it's something that less than 1% of our population's ever done.
Right.
So it's something that it's just exciting for anybody.
Absolutely.
If you've ever done it, it's exciting. And from there, I was shipped to the 82nd Airborne in North Carolina, Fort Bragg. And I spent 2 years there. And it was the best 2 years of my life, beside meeting my wife and getting married.
Oh, of course,
But,
of
no,
course.
it was just, I got to see the world.
Of course you did.
Got to see the world. And never regretted it. Loved it. Loved being a veteran.
Of course.
And, I got asked to come here to your show. And
Right. I'm just happy
we know
to have
each
you
other.
here.
We know each other from
Yeah,
prior.
This is true. This
Yeah.
is true.
But yeah, it's just grateful. I love this country. It's given me so much.
Yes.
And this gentleman here is gonna. He's got a good future going to the Navy, and he's gonna like it.
It's fantastic. I love hearing the story. I mean, Officer Gonzalez just fantastic. I love the fact that you made the choice to do something. First, you thought about it, you talked about it, then you did it. So often people will talk it, especially this is LA where we live. People will talk a good story, but they won't actually live it. You've done it. Just fantastic. Well, Finn, welcome. Elijah Finn, new guy going into the Navy. So why did you make that choice?
It's actually kind of interesting because I did grow up in a military home.
Yes.
My dad is now a retired 05 Lieutenant Colonel, Army Reserves.
Yes.
And growing up, I guess we had more of that military-like atmosphere,
Just discipline.
Right. It was very disciplined, like nothing over the top, but,
Right.
My parents were very strict, but in a good way, and
Yes.
definitely got all the spankings I deserved,
Of
and
course.
it definitely helped me out. And with that being said, I grew up never really thinking that I'd want to be in the military too.
Right.
And then when I went to high school, I went to Troy High School, which is in Fullerton. It's in Orange County, where they have the largest JROTC program west of the Mississippi.
Really?
We're talking at the time I was there, some 400 plus cadets.
Wow. That's
Right.
a lot.
Right. So I joined that voluntarily. I didn't have to, but I joined up for it. And it was a Navy JROTC. And
Yes.
I was fascinated by the culture and just learning about the Navy. My naval science instructors were Marines and Navy men themselves. And so with that being said, that really perked my interest in potentially pursuing a Navy career. So with that being said, I took advantage of all the opportunities that the program gave me to
Yes.
travel, to compete, and to lead the unit, as a senior.
Right.
And from there, I was able to secure 2 nominations to the United States Naval Academy,
Which is great.
which was my goal at the time, in high school, to become a midshipman at the
Yes.
academy and become an officer. And so since then, I was nominated, sure, but not actually appointed. And then that's kind of where I took a break, actually, and I thought, well, I was so disappointed that I thought, well, maybe I'm not cut out for this sort of thing. And
What did your parents think about this? Because now your dad was in the Army. Now you're making transition
Right.
from Army to Navy. These are rivals, So what was his thoughts about that now? That's a big deal.
yeah, that question always does come up. But, I think maybe there's a possibility that if he could go back, he would have chosen Navy. But that's just me
Go Army.
speaking.
It's
Go Army.
go
No,
Army.
no.
Right.
That's just me speaking. But,
Right.
mad props to all the Army guys out
Oh,
there.
of
I got some
course.
friends that are in the Army, both active and reserves, and
Right.
it's fantastic.
Right.
And so I'm just biased because I was in a Navy JRTC program. I love swimming.
Right.
And with that being said, I just think that's more of the culture that I would appreciate. I'm a man of the sea.
Right.
So,
It's just you.
exactly.
What did your mom think about this decision?
Something I think maybe at first she might have been surprised that I was considering military back when I was in high school.
Yes.
But we've just been talking about it so much. It's just become such a big thing for me that now it's just commonplace to where when I suggested that I was thinking about enlisting, she wasn't surprised at all, because all throughout my high school career, she was the one helping me, taking me to my drill practices
Yes.
and, picking me up from wherever I needed to be in order to uh, secure those nominations that I
Yes.
did earn.
Yes.
So when I suggested enlisting, she wasn't surprised at all,
Uh-huh.
which was awesome, fantastic. And I think they're very supportive of that. My grandpa was a veteran himself, so.
Well, that's great. So your grandfather's a veteran, your dad's a veteran,
Right.
and now you'll be a veteran too one day. Actually,
Exactly.
that's just a great family legacy of service. It really, really is. I'll tell you something interesting is the if I were able at the time, I would have joined the Navy or the Army again. Is when 9/11 happened. I literally had this fire within me but I was in my residency at the time. That there was a part of me I wanted just to leave that and actually join the service. I can't even explain it. I mean, I spoke to my mother about it, and she was like, Levi, you are just about to finish. You can go back and serve later. You can volunteer. And I'm really grateful for the level-headedness of my mother because that event was so intrinsically visceral for me that I felt like I had to do something. And in my mind, I thought, I'm going to go and join the service. I'm going to leave medicine. I'm going to go and do something to stop this threat against a country that I love, that I truly love. And I'm grateful for my mom to kind of like pull me back out of the emotion of it and say, hey, wait, you can go back and serve more, but you can do it at a different time. So I just have to share that. That was a very radical time for me to really have shifts in my mind about how can I serve? How can I serve this country more? How can I do more? Now, your service, Officer Gonzalez, you went from veteran now to officer. How did that transition come about?
Well, I've been in government since I was 16. I was a recreation leader in the city of Santa Fe Springs. And from there, I was there up until summer ended, and then your hours get shrunk, and I was in school, and it's trying to buy school clothes and whatever else I wanted to do. So I went into the public works department as a part-time, working in the parks, doing trash and et cetera. And then I left to the military, graduated, left to the military. Then when I came back, got back with the city, and was with the city for 15-something years, and then I moved around with other cities. And then in 2005, January 10th of 2005, my whole life changed.
Right.
My older brother, Officer Manuel Gonzalez, he was killed in the line of duty at Chino Prison. And
sorry to hear that. That's a tragedy.
you take things for granted. You don't know. I never really realized what my brother did.
Right.
We lock up the inmates, put them behind walls and gates, and we don't think about it.
Right.
We don't think about who's got to watch them, who's protecting us from them. And at that point, when my brother was killed, I realized, I had spoke to my wife, and I had been hired numerous times from different departments, but I had such a good job, and I had children, and I wanted to be with my kids all the time.
Of course.
And so I was 40 years old, and she told me, if you're going to do it now. And I did. I joined the department in 2005, right after my brother died.
Right.
And I'm here now.
This really honors his legacy and memory also.
Oh, I do that every year for my brother.
Right.
It's for someone to lose a sibling or a loved one, and somebody dies of cancer or disease, but for someone to be viciously murdered, it's different. It's a totally different. Right. It's different because I didn't get to say, I love you. I didn't get to see him one last minute. Right. It's just I seen him on a Sunday, and Monday morning
he was gone.
He was gone.
Wow.
So
wow.
It's for me the best thing I ever did. Right. Best thing I ever did. I love it. I love my job.
That's a tough job, though. I think anything in the prison system in general is tough. And in my practice, I take care of a lot of inmates here in Los Angeles because a lot of physicians don't want them in their offices. They feel it's a stigma. They're human beings. They should be treated with respect. But at the same time, you have to be mindful of who they are and what they've done. because many of them have done some extraordinarily horrific things to other people.
Well, you were talking earlier about veterans and how
Yes.
they're treated. Inmates get better medical care than our veterans. In state of California, they get better medical care than our veterans.
Than the veterans.
And if that's something wrong with that, I don't know what to say. But in the state of California, inmates get better care than our veterans, and that's sad.
I don't even have words for that.
That is sad.
Actually, I don't have words that I can repeat on air about that.
Yeah,
That is unbelievable.
It's un-American. It's un-American. We have veterans on the street that don't get any medical care, and I've been through the medical system with the VA. I've been rejected twice for injuries that I sustained while in the military.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I just don't have the time to do it. I just
Right.
don't have the patience and the time.
Right.
I belong to American Legion. Tell me, go back. You'll get it. I said, I don't have the time or the patience.
Wow.
And mistreated. I've been there. You get mistreated. You're put in a line. And
Like a factory.
like a
You
factory.
know, I have veterans that come to my office because in my office I will give care to veterans who they will tell me they don't want to go to the VA. They'll tell me they don't trust the VA even. I hear these things. I remind them that, the VA, it has, like any place will have its ups and downs. And I remind them, go back and try again. I can't tell. I've had at least 50 or 70 plus in my office who say, no, Dr. Levi, we trust you. We know you. We prefer to come here. They prefer to pay out of pocket than to go to the VA. And, of course, I give them these massive discounts. I feel like I want to give them everything, because they deserve it. So hearing that statement, that the inmates get better care than the veterans, I've never heard that. I never knew that. But that's something that needs to be taken up politically. That's unbelievable.
Oh, I mean, I'm not a Trump supporter, but I like what he's doing for the veterans with the Accountability Act he just passed. And I think his heart is in the right place. And it's very political. I mean,
very.
We all know it is.
Very.
But our veterans, especially in the state of California, we have youth authority, right?
Right.
It's 18 to 25 years old.
Mm-hmm.
We call them youth, right? And we treat them like youth. We have 18-year-olds dying in Afghanistan, and we call them men.
Right.
There's a big difference there.
I totally
Big
agree with
difference
you.
there.
I agree with you.
And
I
they
agree
come
with you.
home. They come home maimed, their
Yeah.
minds,
Yes.
post-traumatic
Yes.
stress disorder.
Yes.
And they get treated like shit.
Absolutely.
Excuse my language, but they do.
Yep.
And
Yep. And it should not be.
Should not be that way at all.
Nope. They've given so much and they come back to so little. How is that fair to them?
For Memorial Day, there's a place in Downey called Bastards, and it's owned by a couple Marines, and they honor the veterans every year. They have a big show. I go every year. I've been going every year. They get clothing donated. I mean, it's
Really?
just I
Oh,
mean,
we'll have to have them on the show.
Oh, their show, they just aired on, I think it's L.A. It's on this weekend.
Like
Eye
LA
on
Live,
or
LA
LA
Vista?
Live, something like Vista.
Yeah.
They just it's a show that they just got
Oh,
put
well,
on that show.
definitely look 'em up.
But I go there every year because a lot of my veteran friends
Right.
and a lot of officers that are veterans, we go there every year, and it's just the way they honor everybody and the whole atmosphere
Collegiality.
there. The whole atmosphere there is military, and I love
Well,
it.
I want to give a shout out to it's called Bastards in
in Downey.
Downey. Yeah, I will give a shout out to them. We're going to definitely try to get them on the show. That's extraordinary to hear. What are your thoughts, Finn, as you hear the title of the show and the narrative of the show? How do you feel about being what's going to happen? You're going to be a veteran. You're going to give your life to this country. Maybe not all of it, but a significant part of it. What's going through your mind right now? What are your thoughts of challenge or of happiness? What are your thoughts?
It's one of those things where I see this going into the service as an opportunity. I've recommended to a lot of guys that I talk to about the importance of traveling the world before you're 30.
Yes.
That was some advice that was given to me by my uncle, and I really took it to heart. And I saw the military as a potential opportunity to go out there as a young guy, see what's out there, and add value to myself, because all those experiences are going to add up
True.
to a little bit more wisdom than the next guy who hasn't traveled.
Right.
And so I see a lot of opportunity in that. Other than that, I think it's also an opportunity to save and invest in myself.
Yes.
So what's going on is I'm going to have all my living expenses paid for.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be fed. I'm going to be insured and taken care of. And I'm going to be getting all this money every month that I'm just going to be able to put away. Granted, set aside some for fun, but the the rest just be able to save. And I've talked to a lot of veterans who have told me that they either wish they would have or they did use that time and use that free income to just save and buy rental properties somewhere out in Kansas or something where rental properties are really cheap, come out of the military, become landlords, become business owners because they were smart with their finances. And so with that being said, that's a large goal for me going into the Navy, is to just use it as a time to invest in myself, get real world experience, save money, build my credit, and ultimately just come out a better, richer person, both in terms of monetary wealth and in terms of just knowledge.
Yeah, but one thing I'll say to you as you're saying that is I think I don't think it's, this is just my thought about it, I don't think it's free money. I think it's an investment of the country in you, and you investing in the country. The other thing, what you said that I in my mind is that it's really not free time either, because you're working. You're doing things to really ensure the health and safety of the country. So, as you're talking about it, I was thinking, I don't know if it's going to be really all about you, as it's really more about how you're serving the country, all about us. Does that make sense, what I'm saying?
Right. You're exactly right. And so that is just my personal point of view.
Oh, absolutely. And I respect that.
As to some of my motivations, but you're
Sure.
absolutely right when you say that the work is definitely being put in there.
Oh, yeah.
And there definitely is being an investment being made on the part of, others. And so with that being
because the country's investing in you, but you also invest in the country.
Right.
To me, it's a quid pro quo. You're giving, but you're also taking, and they're taking, but they're also giving.
Exactly. So
but I still think the veterans, in general, I think you are giving more than you're given to. Is that?
Sure. I think that's definitely the case, depending on how you look at it. It's interesting. I write for and have a show with an audience that believes that taxation is theft. It's a common theme.
What's the name of the show?
And narrative. My podcast is called the Alt Libertarian Podcast.
Okay.
And it's for a libertarian audience primarily, and one of their common narratives is taxation is theft, and so they hate taxation. They think it's extortion, and they have their reasons for believing that. And so with that being said, when I think of potentially living off of what other people consider extortion or theft, it is humbling. You know what I mean? To think about that, think that somebody is paying for me to do my job, and then yes, you're right. In exchange, I'm offering something up. I'm offering up myself for their protection. And I think it's definitely something to think about, and definitely something to consider.
I think it's a lot to think about, because you think about it, you're not just offering up yourself. I think as a veteran, you're really offering all of you. As Officer Gonzalez said, people come back with PTSD, so you may be offering up a part of your mind. You may be offering up a body part, like an arm or a leg or both legs or both arms, both hands. You may be offering up your face, whereby you can come back disfigured or burned, or losing an eye, or paraplegic or quadriplegic. I think what the veteran offers, the things that he or she offers, I think there is no price tag on them. I don't think in my mind, I don't think veterans can be paid enough for what they do and what they sacrifice. And I guess in my mind, as you were talking, I was thinking, well, and I don't want this to sound adversarial either, but I was thinking, well, it's not about simply saving the money and getting the check or the free time, as you said, because, again, everything is paid for, either via taxes or via your sacrifice of what you give to the country. But I think it's a very funny loop of, okay, what you're given and then what you get back. I hope I'm clear about that. You have any thoughts about that, Officer Gonzalez?
Well, I was told before I went in, the Pledge of Allegiance will never sound the same to you once you graduate and you're in the military, or when you're out as a veteran.
Right.
Because growing up and saying the Pledge of Allegiance was one thing, but living it and serving and being a proud veteran
Yes.
and saying the Pledge of Allegiance, or going to a baseball game and they're singing the national anthem, it's just a totally different feeling
Right.
from before I went in the military.
Right.
Because now it's about pride of my country, pride
Yes.
of myself,
Yes.
and listening to him, and he's got great ideals in his mind.
Absolutely.
But my advice to you is, you're going to see so much and experience so much, and you're going to meet people from all over the country, and
All over the world.
all over the world,
Right.
but especially people from Kansas, people from Ohio, people from Iowa, people from the East Coast, and you're going to be stationed on the East Coast, and just the experience you're going to get from it, you can't buy it.
Right.
You can't buy that experience. And so my advice to you is just live it. Don't get expectations, just go with it and live it, because I was a kid at 17. My parents had a sign for me to go. Never been on a plane in my life.
Right.
Never been on a plane in my life. Get on a plane, get shipped to Missouri, boot camp, and then I go overseas to Germany. Here I'm a 17-year-old in Germany. I was still 17 when I went. Didn't know how to speak German.
Right.
Knew how to speak Spanish and English.
Right.
And I could legally drink. You could
Right.
do anything you wanted over there because you're a soldier. And the experience that I got from it, I could never, I could
couldn't
never
buy
thank,
it.
I couldn't buy it or
Right.
thank my country for it,
Right.
because they gave me the opportunity to serve and to experience all that. So with that said, just go with it. Don't have expectations, because I'll tell you right now, you might meet your wife when you're gone. You might meet a girl and you're going to fall in love, and everything you thought you wanted to do is going to change, because you may go to the Philippines, you may go to Germany, you may go to a different country and marry somebody from there and bring them back, and your whole life will change. 'Cause I've seen it.
Right.
A lot of my friends did that,
Right.
and they had the same ambitions, but you
Things
fall in love.
change.
Once you fall in love and you meet somebody, everything changes.
That's true.
So just go with it. My advice to you is go with it. Don't have expectations. Enjoy it. One thing I'm going to tell you, because I remember sitting in Germany. Like I said, it was cold over there. I'm on guard duty, and I'm telling myself, what am I doing here?
Right.
I am freezing. It's 4 a.m. What am I doing here? And then the next day, okay, it's another day. I wake up. Like you said, you'd be
Right.
grateful for the next day.
Yes.
And I was stationed in the Fulda Gap in Nuremberg. And the Fulda Gap was where the Russians were going to come through. And we do a border patrol, and you would see the Russians on the other side, and the East Germans and the Yugoslavians. And I'm thinking, here I grew up in a Mexican neighborhood, where
Right.
gangs and, these guys were killing each other. I wasn't a gangbanger, and thinking, here I'm on the other side of the world,
Right.
protecting the borders, protecting Europe from if Russia ever invaded,
Right.
and defending my country. And once that sets in your mind, it totally just changes you. Just totally changes you. You get the pride factor. I'd go home and I'd wear my uniform on the plane and land, visit my family. It's just a proud thing. And back then, it's not like it is now, where everybody, thank you for your service.
Right.
It wasn't like that. I was coming right out of the Vietnam era,
Right.
and so
There's
it was
a lot of
little bit-
hatred
It was a
there,
little
too.
bit different.
Yes.
But just go with it. That's my advice to you,
Right.
because you're going to enjoy it. Trust me, you're going to enjoy it.
Right.
Yeah,
That has to give you a lot of hope
definitely
there.
looking forward. Mhm.
Right. It's going to be great for you, man. I think it's going to be great, Finn. I think it's going to be a real great opportunity. Now, in your mind, do you think that you want to serve for many, many years, or do you see this as being something you do for 5 or 10 years? What do you project? Because I want to have you back on the show maybe 5 or 7 years from now to say, okay, now remember when you said, I'm going to play the tape and say, you said you wanted to serve 4 years, and now you've been there for 14. So what's in your mind about that?
It's I think I'm just going to go ahead and
Experience it.
and play off of Officer Gonzalez's advice here.
Right.
Just be like, just go with it and see what happens. I don't really have any expectations yet for how long I want to do it. It could just be temporary, or maybe I'll end up finding something I really like or want to transfer or become an
Absolutely.
officer. Who knows? Like Officer Gonzalez is saying, anything can happen.
Absolutely.
So-
Anything.
So I don't know. That's a question I can't answer.
Right. You just got to experience it.
Right.
Life is experiential. So you're in it now. Just congratulations. So where are you going to go initially? You go from where to where? You're going to go from California to where?
So when I ship out, and of course I got to give a shout out to my Navy recruiting station, West Covina, which is
Absolutely.
ironically not in West Covina. It's in the City of Industry at the Puente Hills Mall.
Is it really?
Yeah, shout out to my recruiter, Petty Officer Leonard. I know you're listening right now.
That's great.
And with that being said, when I ship out from MEPS, which is in El Segundo, I'll be going to Great Lakes, Illinois,
Yes.
and that's where my basic training will be. So
And there, you there how long? That basic training for you will be like, that's a 3-month period, a 6-month period?
for Navy, it's actually just 2 months,
Well, that's not that
if I'm not
bad.
mistaken. Right, it's pretty brief.
It's Navy.
So you know, hey,
No comment.
at least it's not Chair Force. You know what I mean?
Oh.
So
Right.
yeah, with that being said, that's going to be a just 2-month process. Usually after that, recruits go on to their A schools, you know, which is where they go to the different schools to learn their jobs. And
Yes.
you know, hopefully, if all goes as planned, I'll still be in Great Lakes, Illinois afterwards for my A school, and then we'll see from there.
Great. Now I have a question. So as you know you're going to be going there, what are you doing now to prepare yourself? Are you doing a lot of things to get physically fit, to really watch your diet? Are you training really hard right now as if you're going to be on like American Ninja Warrior? I mean, what are you doing? You training for like a Spartan race? How do you get
Yeah,
ready for this?
It's interesting. The one time I quote unquote did a Spartan race, I was actually just a spectator, but I ended up kind of just running it on the sidelines.
Did you really? Great.
Yeah, so I just kind of jumped in on the verse there, but you know, I definitely have family members doing that. It's interesting that you mentioned like things like diet, nutrition, because
Yes.
when I met your producer here, Janet,
Yes, Ms.
we
Rodriguez.
were talking about. She was asking about gluten-free foods and stuff like that we were serving, and I just so happened to know because you know I kind of follow that protocol myself.
Yes.
Then we started talking about intermittent fasting. That's something else that I'm a huge proponent of, recommend to a lot of people.
Myself also.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yes.
So with that being said, it's so cool that we ended up getting together. So with that being said, it's been since last year that I became very serious about a lot of things you talk about. The fact that we are what we eat and drink.
Yes, and smoke.
And smoke, of course.
Right.
So with that being said, I started paying better attention to what I was doing, but also educating myself using podcasts. You know, one's very
Yes.
similar, you know, to yours. So, and a lot of the people I listen to, I'm sure you're familiar with yourself. So that's been part of the process as
Right.
well, and it's definitely given me a leg up because every week I'm out going to these physical screening tests.
Right.
They are consisted of swimming, running, push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups.
Right.
So I'm competing for a contract. I need to get the best scores as possible.
Absolutely.
So with that being said, everything matters, and every single day I have to figure out something to work on. You know, whether it's doing intervals, whether it's doing some weights, whether it's just doing laps, you
Right,
know,
swimming.
repeatedly,
Right.
just 5x5. You know, all these things do go into play,
Yes.
and they're very important.
Very.
So I think though, getting into nutrition and a lot of things you talk about has definitely been the most instrumental though,
That's great.
because you know I've learned so much more about my body and how I operate
Right.
best,
Yes.
depending on what I put into it.
Absolutely. And one thing about the body, you only have the energy that you're going to have from what you eat or drink and put inside of it. You know, so if you eat properly, the body's ready to fire. You know, I was talking to a friend this morning in CrossFit, and we're talking about the fact that, if you really, if you really don't eat properly, how do you expect to complete a class? You are not going to do it. The body's going to say, no, I'm too heavy, I'm too tired, I'm too dehydrated. You know, we have to do things to really honor the body. We really do. I really want to, Officer Gonzalez, how can people reach you? You know, for maybe motivational talk, do you have any social media platforms they can reach you?
Facebook.
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 And what's the address?
David A. Gonzalez.
Fantastic. What about you, young Finn, Elijah Finn? How can they reach you?
Fantastic. Yeah, so my Facebook profile is probably where I have the most following. It's Elijah Christopher Finn.
Spell that. Spell all of that.
ELIJAH, and then Christopher, CHRISTOPHER. Surprised I could spell that. I've never had to before. And Finn is FINN, or as we say in Navy, it's Foxtrot, India, November. You got to speak in phonetic alphabet.
It's true.
So there's that, and Elijah at ElijahFinn.com, which is my blog.
Fantastic, then. And I want to again thank Elijah Finn and Officer David Gonzalez for being here. And before I go, just to honor your brother also, I know in Chino there are streets as well as some buildings named after him.
There's a
correct?
street going into the prison.
What's the name of that street?
Manuel Gonzalez.
That's fantastic.
And then part of the 71 freeway is named after him. There's signs on each side coming off the
Manuel A.
60.
Gonzalez.
Yes.
Interestingly enough, I live right by there, and I had to take the 71 just to get here. So I know
Really?
exactly where he's talking about. I live right by the prison.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, again, Manuel Gonzalez, we send your brother a lot of respect.
Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
yeah, we mean that. So I want to thank again also David Gonzalez and Elijah Finn for being with us. You know, making this a great show as per usual. A lot of data for you, a lot of information. Was Dr. Levi? Remember, be kind to the veterans. Those women and men deserve that, and also be kind to each other. All right, this is Dr. Levi. I'll see you soon. Have a great, great week. Be kind. Bye.